Hey guys, Debs here, bringing you a video on an actual creation I have just completed. I know it's been a while. I haven't uploaded a video of an actual creation since like the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and that was a while ago. But I've finally received bricklink order after bricklink order after bricklink order and have completed some creations. And just in time, because Brick World is like 2 weeks away. Now this creation right here is a 3D figure of Kim Possible from the Disney Channel show Kim Possible. And this was a pretty cool creation to make. It was a challenge because I had never really made a figure like this before. And I thought something else that would be cool to make would be the Kim Possible logo for her to stand on. Now, excuse me, the colors aren't exactly perfect considering the K is supposed to be green and the outside ring's supposed to be dark green. But the pieces were either way too expensive or didn't exist at all, which kind of sucks, but I think my replacement color scheme works pretty well. And I might not delve too deep into the creation of this, just because there's a lot of studs going a lot of different ways, but I will touch on one technique in particular that I used in this and in Kim. Alright, now Kim's kind of divided into 2 to 3 parts. We have her head, and then we have her legs, which are also kind of part of her body. So it divides into 3 parts. So I think first we should take a look at the head, because while it's still very complex, it's not as complex as the other parts. Let me get all this stuff out frame. Now the head is only attached by one little joint here, and the first thing you'll kind of notice is these rings around the eyes. And what I did here is I took some ribbed hosing, just Technic ribbed hosing, and I cut it, and then I cut a little piece of it, about that thick, and then I cut that piece in half, or not in half, but I cut it vertically, so I could open up the ring and fit it around a black stud, which I think is a good way to make the eyes. There's similar figures or similar sized figures made by other people, like THK, I believe, or it might be TKH, and they do a different style eye, which is more suited to anime, and I thought this eye was better for making Kim Possible a Western style animation. Now, the head has studs going up and studs going down, as you can see from the very top of the head and the bottom. So let's take off this back hair piece, and you can see pretty much how I did the flip. I just used 2 headlight bricks and used them as stud inverters, or I actually used 4 since there's 2 stud inverters in there. Let's see if I can't gingerly remove the top of her head. Now, to this point, everything is studs down, as well as some studs sideways stuff, which I just accomplished using brackets, which is really nothing advanced. Right here, you can see there's a half plate offset caused by the bracket, so a half plate plus 2 plates is equal to 1 stud, which is how everything meets up evenly. You have her ears on both sides, and I just left enough room to have stud inverters, and that's really how I constructed her hair. There's nothing super advanced to it. It took a while to get all the pieces to connect, but it's purely studs up building, so it's really nothing to go into. So let me just press that back together. So that's really all there is to her head. Alright, moving on to the legs. The legs use a technique that I also used in the Kim Possible logo, and that is using finger plates, as you can see in there, as a stud reverser. And this is probably the best stud reversal technique I know of. It takes up a space of 1 by 5 and is only a plate high, and it really offers nothing unseemly. Like headlight bricks, if you use those as inverters, while they're pretty small, 1 by 2 and only a brick tall, they have like holes and weird studs going in a bunch of different directions. So this is probably about the cleanest stud reversal out there. It's really useful. And that's pretty much how I made the legs. But it was really, really hard to get slopes on both sides and everything, and actually get it all to connect. So while it might not seem more complicated than the head, it was entirely. And I'm out of focus for some reason, but that's okay. And this leg was easier because there's less of an angle to it, but this leg over here, which as you can see has just a ginormous angle compared to this one, was a lot harder to do. So let's try to take this off as easily and cleanly as possible. Still not entirely off. Hold up. There we go. Alright. So as you can see here, if it'll focus, alright, it's just a complete mess. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it took a while to figure all this stuff out. And one of the things I'm bummed about is I had to use the tube and tube technique that I've gone over in previous videos. But you can take a 3mm flex hosing, which is rigid kind of hosing that's about that thick, and then you can take 4mm hosing, which is like rubber, and it's pneumatic hosing, so it's rubber and really flexible, and you can fit that over the 3mm hosing and use it to create a false stud, which is what I did here. So you can see that, how there's a tube within a tube there. It creates a false stud, and this is just a really versatile technique, but at the same time it's kind of like a cheap way out, like, I can't figure out what to do here, I'll just do tube and tube, you know. It works in a lot of places. It's not that best connection because, as you can see, there's a little gap, which is mostly unavoidable unless you cut it very precisely. And it's just kind of a cop-out. But in this case, I feel there's absolutely no way I could build this leg without using it. I only had to use it, I think, for 3 pieces, maybe 4. I think it was 3 pieces. And it's a good technique, but I feel a little dirty after using it, so oh well. And that's pretty much how the legs were done. Now the legs attach to the torso just by these studs. There's nothing really to it. Now the torso is cool because it also has the arms, and the arms are movable, which is pretty sweet. She's karate chopping you, as you can see. The hands I completely stole from someone. On Flickr he goes by Pate Kintogu, I think is how you pronounce it. I'll post a link in the description. But he used these, I don't even know what you'd call this piece, clipped with a rod. He used those as fingers for a figure he made that's probably a little bit smaller than this figure that I've made. And I thought it looked perfect, especially for, like, karate chopping, because, you know, your fingers are just straight up, and I think it looks good. The thumbs, I used minifig hands with flex tubing over them, which is the same hosing, which is one of the hosings used in the tube and tube technique. And then I just connected the hand to a little clip, which kind of stinks because it looks like she has like some weird protrusion coming out of her hand, but there wasn't really much I could do about that. And I also used the finger hinges to attach it to, because I needed something that was 1x2, so I could connect it to this tan piece and also have this clip. It looks really good because she wears gloves, so I think it worked out really well. Now you can further divide the body like this, like so. So everything's connected to just your basic snot pieces, like here's a 1x1 brick with studs on 2 sides, and then here's a 1x2 brick with studs on 2 sides right there. And getting kind of the curves correct was the first real challenge, and that just required some experimentation and stuff like that. And I was really happy to get in her belly button, because if you've seen the show, for like the first 3 seasons, she wears like some cutoff like this. You can see her belly button, so I thought that was a pretty crucial detail that I would need. There isn't really anything else other than this one area that I'm pretty proud of. Like, I didn't want the back to just be completely flat. Like, a lot of figures I've made from the back don't really have much detail, but here you can see that it actually curves on the back. It's not just like a really rough corner that would look bad, and I'm happy that I didn't make it all flat. And another thing here is I kind of maintain the curve in the front. As you can see here, or you can kind of see here, there's a 1x2 plate with rail coming out, and that's just to kind of keep the curve going, so it just doesn't immediately drop, and it would look really weird. So, yeah. That's about all there is to the body. And one more thing, the belt is just connected through 1x1s with studs on the side. Sorry if this shot looks a little different. When I was recording the final little scene of me recreating or putting back together Kim Possible, the camera died. So I couldn't find the charger yesterday. I finally asked my brother when he came home from work where the charger was, and all that got sorted out, but by the time it was all fully charged and everything, the sun was down and there's just no point. So here I'm gonna reconstruct Kim Possible. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but the feet, like the boots, just attached to a Technic brick. Just a 1x1 Technic brick with a single stud attached to it. And the focus is being really weird right now. But anyway, it just attaches to these free studs here. Hold up. Attached. Alright, focus is better. Let's grab the other leg. Put that back on. Make sure the belt's lined up decently. One problem I have is to get this piece to attach, I couldn't have a brown 1x1 plate right here, so the belt doesn't go around fully, and that irks me to no end. But you know, there's not much I can do. Oopsie. Let's get that fixed. That looks better. Right. Gotta put her head back on. Pretty simple stuff. Then put her back on the base. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.